chilly.
Which tent are you sleeping in again?
Yours.
I'm gonna kill that cook.
Sometimes games aren't appreciated for how good they were at the time they came out, and become cult classics years later. Okami, Eternal Darkness, the more recent Prey, all great games that failed to sell well enough to get the praise and potential sequels they deserved, though Okami is finally getting one about 20 years later, and I think it may surprise many of you that Ubisoft, of all people, has their own cult classic hit. They used to throw out a lot of different games before AAA game development became all about massive budgets and being as safe as possible, and today I want to talk about that game, 13. There was a remake of this game that was released in 2020 that I'll talk about throughout the video, and it was published and developed by companies other than Ubisoft, and they had no idea what made the original great and ruined it. Trust me, I have my copy right here, limited edition steelbook and all. So let's take a look back at the original and remember what the remake forgot. The first thing you notice when you boot up or look at 13 is style. The game was based off of a Belgian graphic novel series of the same name by John Van Ham, and Ubisoft really took that to heart and made you feel like you were playing in a comic book. Cel-shaded art in games was just picking up steam back when this came out thanks to games like Jet Set Radio, and they leveraged that along with comic panels and comic-style onomatopoeia to bring it to life. The opening cutscene is of the main character waking up on a beach and being discovered by a lifeguard with a bullet wound and no memory. You get into gameplay, and immediately we have comic-style text boxes following the characters around, and a flashback to escaping a boat.
I can't remember a thing. Ow. My head.
If the main character sounds familiar at all, it's because he's voiced by David Duchovny, Mulder from the X-Files, making his second appearance as a voice actor on this channel, the other being Area 51. Those two games are the only non-X-Files games he's ever voiced in. Somehow he went 2 for 2 on great games that nobody appreciated. The lifeguard gives him a key that says Winslow Bank, and then she's immediately killed. This ain't Baywatch. That starts the first level, escaping the beach while the mysterious assailants ambush you and the incredible soundtrack plays in the background. Comic panels will show up on the screen to show things around you, enemies get text layered over them as they die, and a man shouts at our character calling him number 13. If the plot so far sounds similar to the Bourne movies or books at all, well, guess what? The Bourne Identity movie came out a year before this game did, and the concept is pretty similar. The comics are obviously older, but then again, so are the Bourne books. The first and perhaps gravest sin of the 13 remake from 2020 is that it did not keep the cel-shaded art style and made the comic-like cut-ins much smaller and de-emphasized. There was an update to the game done by a different developer about 2 years later that tried to correct what was here, but like they say, you can't polish a turd. They did the best they could, but the original is still going to be the best way to play this game, and it's just as accessible on PC as the remake is. Once we make our escape, we get a comic-style cutscene as our character tries to remember what's going on, and follows his only lead to Winslow Bank in New York City. This is another one of the things that the remake got wrong. The comic-style cutscenes were removed and replaced with regular in-engine cutscenes that lose all of the heart of the original. You walk into Winslow Bank and are immediately recognized as Mr. Rowland and offered to visit your safe. So you follow the clerk into the vault with your key, and when you open it, a bomb greets you. The customer service here is to die for. This triggers another flashback of someone 13 was working with, who says they're trying to catch all of them.
We'll incriminate all of them, from number 20 to number 1.
And it turns out 13 set the bomb himself. He's fallen for his own trap, which is why he had the key, so now we're going to have to escape the bank. Stealth plays a big part in this game in certain levels, and you can knock out enemies with objects found throughout the level, like chairs or whatever this thing is supposed to be. Or smash a chair into absolutely nothing and use your fists in a panic, like a real super spy. We find someone screaming about 13 being still alive and to inform the Mongoose, and then you get the stealth tutorial for how NPC footsteps can be seen with a tap 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 on your screen, even through walls. The art was stylish enough, but even the UI is in on the comic book aesthetic.
Ugh, this alarm is driving me crazy. If this robber would just take a hostage, then we could shut the damn thing off.
You can take hostages to prevent guards from shooting at you, though if you press the wrong button and knock out the civilian, apparently it's fair game for the police to turn them into Swiss cheese. Actually doing it right this time makes the escape much easier, and we're in the elevator and out, but now the cops are getting killed. The men that are after 13 have followed him here, but at least now we can shoot back. There's no aiming down sights in this game, though the remake did add it, which some would consider unfaithful to the original. I'm more lenient on that decision, but that's definitely up to taste. We eventually get stopped by the FBI and are placed under arrest for the murder of the president, William Sheridan.
Look at this photograph.
They show photo evidence of 13 in the vantage point where the president was shot from, and we learn that Steve Rowland is supposed to be dead, but the girl from before shows back up to help us bust out. As the second celebrity voice in this game,
Listen, Mongoose has found you.
the girl Jones is voiced by the Rough Riders rapper Eve. Ubisoft was obsessed with using Hollywood voices in their games for a long time, and she's not going to be the last one here. The gunplay in 13 is fairly average, but it's not what makes this game so good. Enemies are competent, unlike often in the remake, but they don't move much and are sometimes completely deaf to what's going on around them. But that really doesn't matter, as it won't be enough to diminish your enjoyment of the game for most people. Besides the style, the soundtrack of this game is a huge part of what makes it so good. All 13 tracks, haha, were created by the Future Primitive Sound Collective in a noir theme. This soundtrack is so good, I highly recommend just listening to it on its own if you like jazz or anything similar, and it was even nominated for the Academy of Interactive Sciences Outstanding Achievement in Original Music Composition Award, but it lost to Medal of Honor Rising Sun. The story is also a huge part of what makes this game intriguing, and meeting up with Major Jones, we learn that General Carrington was leading the case on the president's assassination, and 13 was part of it. So she's going to help us get out so we can get to him for help. This game is still part spy game, so we have to have at least a couple gadgets, and Jones gives 13 this grappling hook which you can use throughout the game with one big button to make it idiot-proof, and then she gives you a sniper rifle on the roof. Shooting the enemy snipers gives comic-style cutouts of what happened to them, which is great, and it just brings a smile to my face every time it happens. What? It's not weird. Once we get some distance, Jones gets a call from someone saying General Carrington was arrested and taken to a military base called Emerald by General Stadwell. So, great. Our would-be savior is doing time too. What did he do, kill the vice president? The two escape with a chopper and head straight for the base. We make our way through the base to rescue Carrington, and in another flash of style, you can see the screen shake and pretend we're looking into a comic panel instead of a screen. This is a small thing, but it adds a ton of character to the game. So, of course, the remake removed this too. I'm not sure who was making the decisions over at PlayMagic, the developers of the remake, but there's a reason they were replaced on that game. 13 then has to jump up some boxes to get into the base, and he's definitely a white guy, I'll tell you that much. The next part of the base is the first major stealth section of the game, where you need to destroy 4 generators without letting any guards activate an alarm. This game uses an AI for this that even a ton of modern games fail to do, and if any of the guards find a body at any point while you sneak around, even if you're nowhere near it, they'll run straight for an alarm. Because of that, and to avoid soft-locking you in a situation where you left a body far away, this means that these entire sections have to be done on only one checkpoint, which can make them extremely frustrating because these enemies are really good at their jobs. It must have been some kind of mistake, however, because somehow the remake actually added more checkpoints for these sections and improved them a bit in that regard. Whoever that one guy was that knew what they were doing, thank you for trying. Also, I love the throwing knives for these sections, but I have the aim of a diabetic cat, so this part proved pretty difficult for me. Apparently these idiots didn't think to put any alarms on the inside of the base though, so now we're going loud. And there's even a bathroom shotgun to help break down those big logs. We also have Mission Impossible at home, where my impatience got a chance to shine again. We finally made it to General Carrington.
My best man alive. Jones, can you read me? What? What do you mean amnesia?
Does that voice sound familiar? This is our final celebrity voice actor, Adam West. I'm not sure why him specifically, but his voice is so iconic, it doesn't even matter, it's great. Ambushing this guy with him is hilarious, but then he just runs out with no weapons like a moron and begs to be protected. Thanks, man, what an outstanding general you are. Now we're gonna escape by cable car, because, I mean, how else do you escape a mountaintop government base? Carrington tells us that the real 13, Steve Rowland, was the one who killed the president, and was then betrayed by the other numbers. So, who is our character? Well, no time to think, we're being attacked. This mission is where I gave up on the remake, because on top of all the other shit it has going on, there are also game-breaking bugs, like in this mission where you have to follow the general, but if he decides he'd rather sit in the snow and make snow angels, there's nothing you can do about it, you can't continue. I don't have footage of that because it was years ago when the remake came out, but that was far from the only game-breaking bug in the game, so if you decide to play it unpatched for some masochistic reason, I'm sure you'll find one. We'll just keep calling our character 13, and he asks the general to tell him who he is, but apparently we don't have time to just say a single name because someone named Kim that was working with us is asking for help, and we have to go straight there to save her. This level is where I learned of the gospel that is the .44 revolver in this game. Weapons are not even remotely equal in 13, and this was back when every game dev thought that revolvers are stronger than every other firearm known to man. It kills every enemy in 2 hits, or 1 if you get a headshot, and the aiming is very forgiving. I wreaked havoc on these guys with it.
Welcome to Kansas, Dorothy.
Great ambush, guys, but why did you all wait to shoot like this was a movie? Kim was the wife of Steve Rowland and also number 17. So since they all betrayed her husband, she's betraying them with the plan of making our 13 take the image of her deceased husband to fool them. It's a pretty sneaky plan, but how in the hell did the conspirators think betraying the one guy whose wife they are also friends with was going to go? I get that they're after her too now, but I fail to see the logic here. Also, the drums go hard in this level. Kim disappears while we're protecting her from an ambush. Don't know where to, so now we're just gonna leave, I guess. But before we can, avalanche. And the enemies have captured 13. This is straight up Mission Impossible, James Bond, and the Bourne series all in one, if you haven't noticed already. A doctor comes to 13's cell, and then another man appears, the Mongoose. He was the one who killed the real Steve Rowland, and is smart enough to have doubts that 13 is actually him. The police escort him over to the doctor, but first they drop him off at the laundry room and decide to play their favorite game of Jump the Prisoner. The prisoner being the super spy that has been taking out entire armies by himself. The whole enemy faction shares one brain cell. This guy should go on American Idol. That's still a thing, right? Also, I think this guy was airing out some Ubisoft dev grievances.
This instrument isn't stimulating enough, is it? What about this one?
What do you think he meant by that? We finally made our way over to the doctor, and it turns out this game has boss fights. I know I'm on normal difficulty, but for the most part, they aren't difficult at all. They mostly just stand around while you shoot them. Going into the doctor's office reminds 13 of the conspirators, and no, we're not going to talk about those outfits. Saving this nurse gives you the chance to use her as a hostage, but I forgot you're not allowed to press X again after that, so she's in the hallway now. Oops. Into an ambulance to escape, and we picked the wrong nurse because she can't drive.
But I'll never forget you.
Who was that?
Jones is not happy about this. She must have been 13's wife. You get access to the bazooka for the first time in this level, but I don't really want to use it because I already have the god killer that is the Magnum. There's so many guys in this canyon though that I had to use it a couple times. We're looking for a plane that Jones stashed for 13 to escape, and I highly doubt that this is what you were picturing. She said plane. This is a fucking jet.
I trust her.
Uh-huh. You save her life, and she splits.
Jealous, Major?
Just get in the damn boat.
Yeah, she's definitely his wife. Apparently, before she left, Kim also told us that Colonel McCall is part of the 20, and he runs this base, so that's why we're here. We've arrived at just the right time, too, as apparently some other members of the 20 are having a secret meeting in McCall's tent. So we're going to get there first and plant a bug. While on the way, we also learn about a rival that the original 13 had, Jason Fly. That will come back up later, but first we have to sneak through the base.
You can close your mind, but I'm still on the run.
Shut up! Ah, shit. Now at the tent, you have to make sure to take out all the guards and then hide the bodies so the conspirators don't see them on the way to the tent. It's a little tough since you don't know exactly what route they're going to take, and the checkpoint for this is particularly annoying, but it's really not that bad. At the meeting, we learn a little bit about the coup the 20 are attempting, and that they have a stock of weapons that we're going to blow up before we leave the base. There are also skills that you can remember throughout the game by finding hidden documents, and the one I picked up in the tent gave 13 the ability to forget having Parkinson's for 10 seconds every time you zoom in on a weapon, so that was really nice. We've blown up the weapons so they know we're here, and it's going to be guns blazing on the escape. On the way out, we end up running into McCall and start his boss fight, which is a little bit harder than the Doctor, but still not bad when you have grenades. The 20 have a submarine that they're attempting to use for their attack that's here on the base, so now our mission is to infiltrate it before it can leave. Double bond roll! Thankfully, these guys forgot to close the hatch, so we can just jump right in. This submarine level is particularly infamous for being a tough stealth section with the worst checkpoints you have ever seen. This is the one time I feel like the remake may legitimately be a better experience. The enemies are still great at seeing you, and you can't really do anything about it, or a body will be found and doom you. You can see my frustration with it building in real time. Then I finally made it to the captain, who is number 7. That gives 13 a memory of finding out who number 1 is, but he can't remember the face, so it's no help. We're going to stow away on the sub to stop their plans, but they find the bodies and are now on full alert, so change of plans, escape the sub. Our escape route takes us to the captain, who dies hilariously easy, and another of the 20 is now dead. Finally, in another classic spy move, 13 escapes out of the torpedo hatch. The escape from the hangar then starts with blowing up the submarine for good measure.
Bad place to be. I better turn back.
No, apparently 20 feet away in the water is far enough from a plastic explosive, so says the game. We even get to skewer some guys with a harpoon gun underwater while we're at it, and I never used this again, so I have no idea why they put it in, if only for this section, but it's cool, so whatever, I guess. What the hell is a quay? Also, he can't remember the face of number 1, but he can remember the word quay, okay. Helicopter boss fight. Every FPS is required to have one, and this is exactly the same as all the others. After that, we run into the leader of the FBI in Carrington, and have officially been declared innocent. 13 somehow knows that a few more members are meeting at a hotel tonight, so we're headed out there to record it. This was hands down the most annoying stealth mission in the game for me personally, not the submarine. Since enemies can find the bodies, but you don't see that happen, it's impossible to tell exactly where you went wrong along the way. You run all the way through this hotel, into the room, start recording the meeting with this fancy mic, and all of a sudden enemies will discover a body somewhere, and you have to start all over, including recording the whole meeting over again, and even if you do make it through, you then have an invisible time limit to disable the power, with no indication of where you need to go to do that, and that's another reset to the beginning of the level. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. In the actual meeting that we record, they say the country is ready to accept the new regime, and Operation Total Red will soon begin. They spot 13 somehow before you can hear more, so the FBI moves in for the arrest. They can't get into the room, but 13 can, and we pull a reverse V for Vendetta and drop in from above on Winslow and kill him. Then chase down Willard and kill him too. That's 2 more down, and we found the address of their so-called sanctuary. Obviously we're going to have to sneak in, which sucks, but I have throwing knives again. Hell yeah.
Alert! The individual reported by HQ has infiltrated the property. Let's nip!
How the fuck did that not drop stealth? Anyway, just gotta leap through these bushes to move on. How was I supposed to know it was a cliff? At least on retry, I got to hear this conversation.
Matthews and I spent the entire weekend sanding the ship's hull. Next Sunday, we'll apply the anti-fouling.
Shut up with the boats. It's making me seasick.
Hey, check this out.
What?
A chopper, over there. Notify HQ.
Everyone around here owns a chopper. I'm not calling that in.
One brain cell and it's not in use. Oh boy, creepy little church on the property, and this is where they wear the pointy hats. What exactly did you mean by this, Ubisoft? And why did these guys see me mid-conversation without me moving at all? Stealth is very confusing in this game sometimes. Oh hey, I guess you can stab with these things too. Who knew? And by the way, we've had this lockpick tool for most of the game. I'd love to know why it takes so long to open these doors, but I have a feeling it's something to do with the fact that I'm pretty sure it's an electric toothbrush.
Hurry up, 13. We have to find out what they're planning.
Complex lock. Takes more spins. And straight to the buffet. Sounds pretty American to me. We've got what we came for, so let's get out of here. Some spy 13 is, by the way. How many places have we had to escape from the second we got the information we were after? Looks like they've pretty much decided that 13 is in fact Jason Fly, even though that was never really confirmed. We're now meeting with Walter Sheridan, the brother of the assassinated president. He's going to give us access to the place where Operation Total Red is supposed to begin. We're undercover as a colonel, and unfortunately only Sheridan is allowed in, but that hasn't stopped 13 at any other point. Getting down into the base requires hiding some bodies again, and a bit of trial and error with some unfortunate checkpoints. Again, I get it, but I wish the checkpoints were a bit better. The current president is here at the base, wondering what Sheridan is doing there, and where all his guards are. My bad. They've taken the president. How the hell do we know that? Well, this fight against a couple guards in Stadwell is actually pretty hard because the rest of the level to this point was stealth, where you couldn't really acquire any weapons or medkits, so you're going into it without much to work with, but luckily I learned earlier that the miniguns do insane damage, but they're incredibly inaccurate, so they're great for this. The president passes out, so now we're going to have to carry him. It's not delivery, it's the president.
Mr. President, can you hear me? Okay, he's breathing.
They think some guy named Wax is number one, and on the way to find him, 13 runs into Sheridan and the girls he was with held prisoner, so we'll have to get them out. Turns out Wax was not number one, he was actually number two, and he's not a problem anymore. The remaining members of the 20 are trying to blow up the base, so we have to get in and stop them, and Sheridan lets us in. You have a very short timer while you're doing this, but it's not a long section, so it's really not too tense. Then we run into the Mongoose, the one who killed the real number 13, and have a final boss fight with him. This one is really hard. He may be old, but he runs around like Usain Bolt, and you barely get any time to hit him. You can also fall off the stand we're fighting on. Enemies drop in to deliver you equipment during the fight and help, and eventually he will die. He falls off the platform, and we go to evac with Jones, and the country is saved. Turns out, somehow, no one actually knows who 13 really is. We don't even know if he's actually Jason Fly, though Sheridan and the others seem to think that he is. Flash forward to a yacht party to celebrate our victory. While talking to the old men, the partygoers decide to set off fireworks unannounced. They did that on a boat full of geriatric military men. They're lucky no one got shot. 13 goes off to look for Sheridan, and we overhear him yelling at Kim for not killing 13. Get a flashback where we remember that Sheridan is number one. He ambushes us, and we get hit with "To be continued," then the credits. And that's it. That's where the game ends. There never was any continuation, as the planned sequel was scrapped due to poor sales. There was eventually a sequel of sorts, 13-2 Covert Identity, made by Gameloft, but if you recognize that developer, yes, you are right. It was in fact a shitty phone game from 2007, before the iPhone really changed what mobile games could be. It's a shame that this game not only didn't get the love it deserved at the time, but the ones who did recognize its popularity enough to make a remake for it didn't have the same love and attention for it as all other great remakes like Night Dive has been doing, for example. There was a real chance for a forgotten game like this to get into the hands of a lot of people that never gave it a chance before, but instead, it will always be remembered as one of the worst remakes ever made and probably never given a third chance. Like I said though, the original is still super accessible on PC, you can get it on Steam even, and that's the route to take if you're interested in checking 13 out for yourself. And should you really want to know what happens, you can always check out the graphic novels, but I don't have much good news for you there either, because literally 40 years in and they are still running, written by different people over the years. There's no such thing as a satisfying conclusion for this thing. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing for more videos on forgotten games, and I'll see you next time.